I want to give some shout outs to some folks on the internet where I pulled inspiration from. So when I had this idea to build a servo controlled pedal steel guitar, the first thing I did was obviously look it up online, see if anyone's done it before. So I found this guy on YouTube called Greyhound with a 4, and he built basically exactly what I'm trying to do, but he did it for a standard electric guitar here. So you can check out his YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description. And in here, in his description, he actually has a link to an album where he laid out how he actually did it. So I pulled that up, and I also found this article in Hackaday that describes his project, so you can see how he used the same servo motors that I'm using. It's actually how I found him from him, and he goes through how he did this. He used some custom 3D printed servo horns to be able to get the string to attach to the servo shaft, and then he used the same idea with a counterbalance to reduce the amount of load on the servos. So he went through how he did that, and if you go to his Imgur link that he had in the YouTube description, he goes through how he actually built the whole thing. He started with a little prototype here with a guitar neck. He goes through the bridge and saddles that he used with passing the string through the screw itself. And I guess he's got a CNC router at home, so he cut out this aluminum plate to make a little plate to mount all the servos to. So that's pretty cool. So he did a really nice job. And he actually routed out a custom guitar body for this project, so that's pretty nice. He painted it. Goes through the servo horns and how he designed those. Talked about noise, electrical noise from the PWM signal that drives the servo motors, and how he did some isolation to prevent that from interfering with his pickups. And this is the part where he used a neodymium magnet and that sustain pedal, along with an off-the-shelf linear Hall effect sensor chip to create a little rotary position sensor. And he basically did the same thing that I'm going to do with those sustain pedals. And yeah, he did a really good job. It's awesome. And watch his video. He sounds great. I'm not going to play it here because I might get YouTube issues with that. Here's another website that I really like. This is a gentleman in Indiana named Richard Miller, and so this is a gentleman in Indiana, and he has this website called Lap Steel Builder. He builds lap steels and pedal steels, and he came up with this cool idea actually for lap steels. He does lap steel out of a 2x4. So he buys a 2x4 and he cuts it out a particular way, and he makes lap steel guitars like that. So really, really cool, and I like the ideas that he uses for, kind of affordable solutions to coming up with these specialized components. The nut, it looks like you just took a pin and scratched some lines and some notches into it to let the strings sit on. So he does a really nice job. That's cool. So check him out. And he also sells the what do you call these? The fretboard graphics, and you can pay him a couple bucks and download it and go print it and stick it right to your guitar. So I plan on doing that with his design there. But anyway, if you go to the pedal steel section, he builds his own pedal steels as well. It's a video. And so this is where I'm getting some good ideas about how to actually mount the parts that I bought onto a board and make it work nicely. So one of the things that was tricky for me to figure out, actually I'll show you. So if I look at pedal steel kit, key head. So these are the ones that I can buy on eBay if I want to be lazy, but kind of expensive. I'm trying to keep the cost down here. So you can see that typically the pedal steel key heads have the zigzag pattern so that you can have all of the tuning pegs kind of nested inside each other so that the strings don't interfere with the previous peg, but you still have the tuning peg sitting straight. Problem is that's not easy to do without, you know, custom machining that part. So the way this guy does it is he's just got two straight pieces of aluminum angled, and he's just putting the pegs right in there. So that's what I'm going to do with wood. And he shows how he makes his fingers here. So I don't need to worry about this because I already have that tail piece, or the bridge rather, with all the fingers on it for bending. And this is very similar to what I'm trying to do with those roller saddles. So what he's doing here with these rollers, and it looks like he just machined out this plate here. Almost looks like a door hinge with a lot of slots in it, more than you would typically have in a door hinge. I actually did look at door hinges. I looked at finding door hinges that had a lot of slots that I could potentially adapt for this, but they don't really exist in this size. I think it's called a piano hinge would be the closest thing. It's the very long hinges. Let me make sure that's the right term. Yeah, piano hinges are these really long ones with a lot of, I don't know what you call these things, but the you know, the woven pieces from each side of the hinge that interface with the pin. It's got a lot of those, but it's still too big, so that didn't work out. But anyway, this guy's project is pretty cool. Let's see what else he did here. Painting. So this is the setup. So he builds this box, and so he's got one piece. He's got one piece of wood here that raises up the fretboard, and then the other two pieces, so the bridge and the key head, are both sitting flat on the base piece. So basically it looks like there's like maybe a ½ inch piece of wood here that's raising that fingerboard up. So I got to do the measurements and see, you know, how far the strings. There's some forums that I found for steel guitars, and, you know, they tell you how far the string should be off the fingerboard and all that kind of stuff. So I'll figure out how much to raise it up. But yeah, I like this guy has given me good inspiration for how to cheaply make parts out of kind of everyday or readily available materials, rather than buying actual steel guitar parts that cost a lot of money. And so he did it mechanically, so he'll go through, you know, all the pieces that he used on the bottom. He made custom pedals. Did 5 pedals. That's pretty cool. And then, you know, he shows the mechanism that he used on the bottom to connect the pedals to that's his crank system, connect the pedals to the benders. And it looks like these are springs. These springs are probably meant to add force to the pedals. So these are, you know, rather than relying on the force with I mean, people's legs are strong and their feet are pretty strong. So, you know, if you step on that pedal, you could easily push with 25, 30 pounds on a pedal, especially if there's additional moment arm somewhere in that mechanism that's magnifying that force that the string actually sees. So these springs are probably to add force to the pedal so that you don't accidentally break the string, or it's not too easy to push the string. You know, when you're playing this thing, you want to feel feedback, and you want to be able to precisely tune the string as you're playing. So I'm assuming that's what those springs are for. And then he's got his volume pedal there too, which I haven't bought yet. That'll be an add-on if I once I finish this thing. So yeah, check out that website. I'll link it. And here's his page where you can buy the fretboards. And he shows you how to put them on. He uses a spray adhesive to put them on. So pretty cool. Nice job. Yeah, I like it. So bottom line is thank you to these other folks on the internet for the ideas, and yeah, good work. Really cool stuff.